Please subscribe to the channel. This story is intense, layered, and every moment matters. The day my daughter turned 16, the house smelled of vanilla, chocolate, and freshly baked brioche from the bakery down Rue de Rivoli. Paris in late spring has a way of bleeding warmth into stone streets and narrow alleys, and the sunlight bounced off the Seine in glittering shards that felt almost cinematic. I had prepared meticulously for this day, not for gifts, not for balloons or cake, but for a reckoning that had been years in the making. The family had gathered in the dining room of our apartment overlooking the river. My daughter, Elise, twirled in a dress too expensive for a 16-year-old's practicality, her laughter bright and fragile. Around the table sat my wife, her parents, her brother-in-law, and a few of their close friends, men who had all been integral to my marriage, my social circle, and, as it turned out, my humiliation. The gifts had been unwrapped. The cake had been served. Candles flickered like small flames of oblivion, and the music of Chopin floated from the speakers in the corner. I was calm, patient, observing every detail. The way her mother's eyes darted when no one was watching, the tightness of her father's jaw, the nervous shuffle of my wife's brother-in-law as he reached for a glass of wine. I stood and cleared my throat, drawing the room's attention with a quiet authority that had been honed over decades of carefully managing appearances and secrets. Before we continue, I began, I have something important to share. I placed a plain, unmarked box on the table. The weight of it seemed heavier than its size warranted. Everyone leaned forward, curiosity breaking through polite smiles. Inside were DNA test results, arranged neatly, labeled with names I had not spoken aloud for years. My hands did not shake, though my heart thrummed like a drum. I had prepared for this moment, and yet the anticipation was a physical ache. I let the silence stretch. Then I spoke. These are tests I commissioned after discovering something I could no longer ignore. Questions about heritage, fidelity, and truth have haunted this family for decades. Tonight, we will answer them. I opened the first envelope. It bore the name of my wife's father. Elise's mother gasped. My wife froze. I allowed the silence to deepen, letting it crawl into every corner of the room like winter fog. The results showed what I had suspected but could not prove until now. Multiple discrepancies. My daughter's genetic markers did not match her mother's father. The numbers were undeniable. The room remained still, even the flickering candles seeming to pause in awe. I moved deliberately, opening envelope after envelope. Each contained evidence of infidelity, secrecy, and lies that had quietly eroded our family's foundation for years. My wife's brother, the men at the table, even some old family friends, they had all contributed to a web of deception that had allowed appearances to remain pristine, while betrayal festered beneath the surface. My daughter's eyes widened. She looked at me, then at her mother, then at the men who had once been pillars of trust. Fear, confusion, and anger played across her face in waves. What is this?" she whispered, trembling. "Truth," I said simply, "and clarity." I watched as men shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. Their laughter had vanished, replaced by a brittle quiet that threatened to shatter the veneer of civility we had all maintained. I continued, detailing how each discrepancy had been uncovered. The financial records, the unreported meetings, the social connections, all corroborated the DNA evidence. Every man at the table realized they could not deny their part. Every smile, every wink, every whispered word over the years had been documented and proven. My wife tried to speak, her voice high and brittle. This isn't fair," she stammered. "Elise, listen." I raised a hand. "Silence," I said. "Not to punish you, but so that she can see the truth without interference. Let her decide for herself what it means." Elise stared at the box, at the letters, at the faces around her. I saw her anger shift to a profound understanding. The realization that the world she had known was built on foundations that had nothing to do with honesty. The men tried to justify themselves. "It's complicated," one muttered. Another attempted charm. "We never meant to." I let them speak. Their words fell flat. Each explanation contradicted the evidence. Each apology sounded rehearsed and empty. By the time they were done, the room was silent again. But this time it was a silence of acknowledgement, not anticipation. I turned to my daughter. "Elise," I said softly, "you deserve the truth, all of it. From now on, nothing will be hidden from you." She nodded slowly, absorbing the gravity of what she had seen. I watched as the weight of realization shifted from me to her, a burden she had been too young to carry until now. I had planned the evening carefully. Every envelope, every test, every word had been orchestrated to reveal not only the betrayals, but also the patterns of control, manipulation, and secrecy that had permeated our family for generations. By the end of the night, the men left quietly, their faces pale and somber. My wife remained, tears streaking her makeup, her hands trembling. She had known the truth at some level, but had hoped ignorance would protect her. It did not. Elise helped clear the table, her movements precise, her expression thoughtful. She did not speak much, but in her eyes, I saw understanding, the first real understanding of what it means to inherit not only a family, but a legacy of truth and deception. That night, after everyone left, I sat with her by the window overlooking the Seine. The city lights shimmered like broken glass in the water. "Papa," she whispered, "why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because timing matters," I replied, "and because some truths, once revealed, can change everything. Tonight, you have the knowledge to shape your own life, without lies, without manipulation." She leaned her head on my shoulder. I felt her tension ease slightly, though I knew the journey ahead would be long. The DNA tests were more than science. They were justice, a reckoning, a reclamation of agency for the next generation. And as the city slept, I realized that revenge does not always roar. Sometimes it is quiet, precise, and irrevocable, leaving the guilty in stunned silence while the innocent finally sees clearly. By morning, the apartment was empty, except for us. The sun rose over the rooftops, bathing the room in gold. Elise opened the envelopes again, reading the notes I had included, asking questions I could finally answer honestly. And in that light, I understood something fundamental. Truth, once wielded carefully, is more devastating than anger. It reshapes lives, dissolves lies, and leaves only what deserves to remain. The men at the table had learned their lesson in silence. My wife had been forced to confront her choices. And my daughter now carried the knowledge and the power to navigate life differently, armed with the clarity that I had finally ensured she would inherit. That night, I closed the remaining envelopes, locked the box in a drawer, and walked to the balcony. The Seine sparkled beneath the moon. Paris felt infinite, vast, and mercilessly honest, just as it should be. And for the first time in years, I felt a profound calm, knowing that the reckoning had been delivered, not through violence, not through anger, but through truth, meticulously documented and impossible to deny.